think as in, say, any retreat, one of the kind of topics or themes that are really important to discuss, and especially for meditation, but not specifically really, as a theme of the 5 hindrances. And because these are how the Buddha says these hindrances are these qualities that overwhelm awareness and weaken wisdom. Nobody wants that. So that figuring out ways to either ameliorate or eliminate these hindrances are really are just really important, because they're obstructions for the heart, and the Buddha points to 5 basic hindrances. Kamacchanda, sensual desire, Bhayabhada, ill will, aversion, Tinamitta, sloth and torpor, or drowsiness, dullness, Utucha kukucha is almost onomatopoeic, restlessness and restlessness and worry, and the last one, vicikiccha, of skeptical doubt, uncertainty, wavering. It's the ways that the mind obstructs itself. So that one is, of course, is to be able to get a sense of that this is a hindrance, and then do they exist? Are they there? And then how do I deal with that? How do I work with that? So and it does, the hindrances do, it's not just just concerning meditation, but it's also, I think on a deeper sense, and in a more pervasive way, it's these hindrances that keep appearing as, they're habits of mind, and they obstruct us in just so many different ways. Like there's a discourse where the Buddha, of course in the Buddha's teachings, one of the fundamental roots of dukkha and all the complications of samsaric existence is avijja, or this ignorance, not knowing the true nature of things, avijjas, or lack of true knowledge, and it's kind of on a par with tanha, and in many cases synonymous with tanha. And there's a discourse where the Buddha is asking, because there's, of course, the dependent origination is a very central teaching for the Buddha, and how things are dependently originated, and the beginning is usually avijja, with avijja as the cause and condition, and there's the arising of formations, and then it sort of goes on from there. But then in another discourse, the Buddha says, because oftentimes we think, well, avijja is some kind of primal core. When you drill down to everything, all there is avijja. And of course, what the Buddha says is that avijja has a cause and condition, and what is the proximal cause for avijja, and it's the 5 hindrances. So then you realize, oh, okay, I can work with these hindrances, and of course it's when we do that, then it opens up whole new avenues of relating to the world around us, and and of course, in particular, in our certainly for meditation, because they are the direct obstacles for the mind becoming peaceful and settled and clear. Although another kind of way of looking at it is the mind is already peaceful and clear, and we keep adding things, which is a very, it's a very valid. And if you look at some of the similes that the Buddha gives with there's a series of similes that the Buddha gives in relationship to the hindrances concerning water. So it's the image for sensual desire. Sensual desire is the image of water that has been had dye added to it, so it's different colors, and it changes color according to whatever color you put into it. But the image, if you track it back and sort of think, well, then the kind of basic foundation of water is its pure kind of nature, or there is a fundamental clarity that is already there. So that to be just lifting that up as a possibility, because oftentimes what we do is we set up these enemies that we have to be fighting all the time. I've got to fight my sense desire, I've got to fight my anger. And we spend all the time fighting. It's tiring. If we're willing to recognize, there's sense desire, there's that sensual desire. Is that ever satisfied? And can I just let go of that? Can I just not buy into that? And then your return back to the kind of a fundamentally clear and still mind. And for the Thai forest tradition, this is what they call the puru, or the kind of the one who knows. So this quality of being the knowing there is this capacity of the mind to be the knowing within anything, and when we return to that, there is a fundamental clarity and stillness, and to give ourselves the opportunity to experience that, again, rather than just following after the sensual desire, just seeking gratification, seeking stimulation, seeking some kind of something exciting, because it's boring to not get. but that you realize, that's kind of an addiction, and what's it actually feel like to be peaceful and clear? We ever give ourselves the opportunity to try it out? So it's of course that's what a retreat is for, hopefully. But you know, we're pretty adept at filling our minds with all sorts of stuff. So the sensual desire, the image that the Buddha gives for ill will, aversion, is water that's boiling, and of course that's an apt image that goes across cultures, and that's he's boiling mad, and so it's just so stirred up, and you can't see your reflection, can't see your image in it, you can't see through it. It's just that's what happens. But again, if you take water off the boil, you let it cool, then it can settle, it can become clear, it can become still. And the image that the Buddha uses for sloth and torpor, or dullness and drowsiness, is when there's a pond water with slime and algae covering it. And that feels about right. It's definitely, I don't know about anybody else, but I can relate to those mind states. And then to be able to take that, clean up that pond, take the slime, take the algae off, and you can see it. It's like, I remember, it was a couple of years ago, we spent a rains retreat at Pacific Hermitage, and when the Hermitage purchased the property, it had a couple little ponds on the property. It's very pretty, and there's a pump that circulates the water, and generally the water is quite clear. But then it gets this duckweed, and you sort of, it's got to go, and then you got to go. And so I can't remember how often I was there for a few months. We did it twice, but every month or two in the summertime, then you've got to go and clear all the duckweed off and take it away, and then you've got a nice clear pool again. That's it's looking after the mind is similar. You figure, okay, you don't need all that stuff choking and clogging up the mind. Restlessness and worry. Restlessness and worry. I mean, those are that's when there's wind blowing across a pond, making waves. So it's not still. So you can feel that, the wind moving through the mind and stirring the mind up, and this obsession to can't stop thinking about something, or feeling quite justified. I have to think about it. Get all the reasons why one has to sort of worry about something. And doubt is skeptical doubt, vacillation, uncertainty. That's that's like a jar of muddy water that's put in a dark cabinet, it's a double whammy. The Buddha gives the image for. But even sort of muddy water can settle, and it can settle to the bottom. The water can still end up clear. So we can work with all of these different hindrances, but I think the one of the things is just gaining this confidence in the fundamental nature of the mind to be clear and still, to be aware and alert on as its nature, and as I said, in the Thai forest tradition, there's just a lot of emphasis on returning to this, just being the knowing, being with the knowing. It's the nature of mind, and allow it to start to flourish and take root. And there's a short teaching by a very famous Tibetan Rinpoche, Patrul Rinpoche. He was, say, a great meditator, kind of ascetic, kind of like an Ajahn Mun character, quite kind of fierce and strict, but also extremely compassionate. But there's a teaching where, and it's kind of like a riff on a classical teaching from the Buddha that we've all, the teaching on to not to dwell on the past, not to sort of get caught up in the future. And that's this Patrul Rinpoche is don't ruminate about the past. Don't anticipate the future. Don't cogitate about the present. Not tampering with it. Leave mind just as is. This very instant. Aware, relaxed. Beyond this, there's not a damn thing. It's a great, very direct teaching, and but it's just pointed to the nature of mind. To give oneself that opportunity, and of course we need to, as we're doing that, we do need to come up with some skillful means of working with hindrances. If sense desire comes up, there's attraction. I mean, it's really natural, for whatever. I mean, it's basically we're bundles of desire seeking an object. It's just sort of recognizing that kind of impulse, and just learning how to relax around it. Just learning how, if I don't get what I want, am I actually missing anything? Am I lacking anything? Because what the feeling is, of course, that's the nature of desire. Is, if you don't get this, you're really going to miss out, and there's going to be some. But the more that you contemplate it, and the more you pay attention, you realize, no, when I don't get something, I'm actually back at ground zero. I'm where I started. I'm fine. So it's just questioning desire, and questioning the assumptions of desire. Is that. So it's a, and that's, but, of course that's also where the Buddha gives the teachings on the, because often, especially if this is monastic teachings to curb the sexual desire, or just fundamental craving that is around basic things of the body. Hunger, and of course you get hungry, but then the mind can spin out all sorts of scenarios of what food I need, what kind of food I need, what would really be, there's a really in the in the books of discipline, there's a story of they usually give stories to the offenses that come up, and there was this group of monks were invited to a meal the next day at a home, and they and that householder was reputed to give very good food, and so these monks were going to they were slated for the invitation the next day, and they did not get as much sleep as they'd like. So that's just the anticipation and excitement of they're going to. So that desire, it's basic kind of garden variety desire. So yeah, it's just looking towards these different forms of gratification. And some of it is fairly base. Some of it is for propping up a sense of identity and identification, who I am, but that's why the Buddha used the contemplations of the body. These 32 parts of the body. In the end, we're trying to gratify this body, and it's just this conglomerate of parts: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, the various internal organs, different fluids. It works, but it's a tenuous sort of thing, and in and of itself. And the word that the Buddha uses for that meditation, because sometimes it's translated as like repulsiveness of the body, but really it's unattractive. It's asubha. Subha is beautiful. Citta subha, the beautiful heart, and so asubha is not beautiful. So unattractive. Just paying attention to the unattractive nature of things, because they're side by side. The things that are attractive have within themselves the elements that are unattractive, and certainly the human body is it's messy, especially as you get older. So it's just being able to contemplate, and that just tends to cool the mind. It's really settling to not be just driven by desire. Ill will and aversion, the Buddha recommends drawing attention to the quality of loving kindness. And for me, that never made any sense for years and years and years. And it's sort of, no. It's certainly not working for me. The mind wants to go to its pet peeves. But you sort of see the suffering in it, and which is really, to me, that always worked. Okay. Also, one of the things that always worked for me was paying attention, like investigating and seeing what, just like a pet peeve, or what opinion, what view am I holding? And holding on to a particular view is always painful. And so that propping up feeding the ill will and aversion through a particular view is a great way of letting go. But then, if one can be generating loving kindness, then it's sort of like it cuts that ill will at the root. Because if you can't, if there's a force of, because metta or loving kindness is maybe better translated as well-wishing. that sense of well-wishing, the having one has the wish that people are happy, they're peaceful, they're comfortable, that they're doing good in some way, shape, or form. So that just undermines the whole program for ill will and aversion. It's a really, really important tool to be paying attention to and developing. And in and of itself, it's extremely pleasant to direct attention, the attention of the mind to those image and feelings of metta, as opposed to just about anything else, really. The sloth and torpor, that dullness and drowsiness, the Buddha recommends. One is to just clarifying the meditation object, making sure you lift up the meditation. Because what happens with we're paying attention to a meditation object, and it's just the nature of the mind is that it kind of drifts, or it gets a bit, maybe a bit bored. It's not extreme in any way, but it loses its sharpness. So then the mind starts to, it gets a bit drifty, and then there's that lack of clarity, lack of sharpness. So it's important to lift the meditation subject up, and this is in terms of a cultivation of more refined states of samadhi, of meditation. The components of the first jhana. Yes, vitakka vichara. Vitakka is the directed thought. Vichara is evaluation. And you have to have that kind of clarification, and to be renewing that clarification in order for the mind to actually settle. It doesn't just do it because you'd like it to. Or you heard somebody else did it. We have to figure out how to clarify and sustain that clarity, so that lifting up of the meditation object, that is vitakka, and then the directing of attention or the evaluation of it that keeps clarifying it. Or a particular train of thought and investigation. That is a vitakka vichara. So sometimes you need to, in meditation, you can't assume that just because it's pleasant and it is pleasant to, just to be able to be peaceful. But sometimes it's that peacefulness isn't sharp enough to sustain itself, and you have to keep putting some energy into it. I mean, if you're forcing it too much, then it's not going to work either. But it's that balance of keeping a sharpness of attention, a sharpness of mind, so that the quality of knowing there's a continuity there. And restlessness and worry, that is one of the ways, of course, with classic technique is just mindfulness of breathing. Because that rhythm of the breath, paying attention to the breath coming in, the breath coming out, the feeling in the body is soothing. Which is also why sometimes people drift off and get drowsy. Because that's one side of the pendulum. And the other side of the pendulum is that restlessness and worry and the mind not quite settling. So that taking the rhythm of the breath, the sensation of the breath, which is, it's a neutral, for the most part, it's a neutral object. It's a neutral, it's settling, it's soothing, just that. The rhythm of the breath coming in and going out is very pleasing. I mean, that's how you rock a baby to sleep. You just have a little cradle that goes back and forth, and they settle down and fall asleep. So that with the mind, when it's on that, the pendulum is out in worry and anxiety and whatnot. Okay, settle down. In and out, breathing in, breathing out, and just getting into the body. It's really soothing, it's settling, so that it counters that. And the skeptical doubt. That is it's skeptical doubt. You have to be, there's a couple different ways of doing it. You have to pay attention to what works and what doesn't work. Because in the sutta or in the commentaries, there is an emphasis on investigation for really paying attention to that sense of analysis and investigation, so that one's really clearly analyzing and investigating one's experience and not getting caught in the tendency to doubt. But to me, oftentimes one of the problems with doubt is that even if you've figured out something, analyzed it correctly, you're still going to doubt it. So it's what I found was much more useful was just coming back into the body. That sense of the physical sensation, the physical continuity of physical contact. It just helps to highlight that the kind of knots that the mind conjures up to be uncertain about, and it helps to just dissolve it. Just being back in the body, being in a continuity of mindfulness, continuity of awareness. And that is really, can't emphasize. And of course, mindfulness of the body is good in any situation, really, but particularly for that hindrance of doubt. I feel it's an important tool to be able to dissipate that tendency to be, uncertainty was trying to, and it wavers, and just the body is a bit more steady, it's a bit more solid, just get grounded in that bodily experience. So that these 5 hindrances, say that when we are able to see them clearly, understand them more clearly, then we tend to, the mind becomes more focused, more clear, more steady. It's a natural result of those hindrances breaking up. And the Buddha gives an image of like with the hindrances as if there were a mountain stream coming down, and it's coming down. Of course, it's coming down from the mountain, so it's very flowing quite swiftly, and it's got a lot of power behind it to carry things along. But then you channel it off to the side, off here and there. You're irrigating these fields and whatnot, and it's all very might be very useful, but that power of that stream has been dissipated. And so and that's what the image of the 5 hindrances are, like these different channels and canals that channel off the energy of the mind. So just being able to, it's kind of blocking off those canals, those channels, and letting the stream of the mind really be able to manifest itself. So that's so working with these hindrances, identifying them, and the main thing, also, another aspect of it is just it's just they're hindrances that overwhelm awareness and weaken wisdom. They're not really my hindrances. It's not me and my problems. It's that I've got to struggle with. It's just, these are things that are quite natural to the mind, and you learn how to deal with them and learn from them, because they're actually expressions of dukkha, really, and you have to approach it with a certain kindness, and what can I learn from this hindrance? What can I learn from this obstacle? What can I learn from this difficulty? What's it telling me in terms of what's taking me away from my fundamental peace, my fundamental clarity? And you have to learn how to, you can't just try to push it away and dismiss it. You have to learn how to listen to them and to learn from them and understand them. Otherwise, we keep repeating the same mistakes. It'll go into abeyance for a little bit, but they'll be back. I'll be back. So there's this sense of being willing to learn from the hindrances. But in the end, it's just really trying to tune in to, underneath all that, there is this fundamental knowing. In the same way that the images that the Buddha gave, underneath the let's say the colors, the heated water, the algae, the wind blowing, the mud and whatnot, underneath all that water was clear and still, and it can be experienced. And so that just getting a feeling for this quality of knowing. One of the most beautiful expressions of of that in a succinct way is a Thai teacher, a meditation master who was she died, I don't know, 1970s, maybe early 1980s, and she had a community of practitioners, and she was just incredibly solid and very, very respected. But her, how did she put it? It was an inward staying, unentangled knowing, all outward going knowing cast aside. And it's just really beautiful. Just being able to get a feel for that. An inward staying, unentangled knowing, all outward going knowing cast aside. Don't need it. That staying within is enough. So I'll offer that for reflection this morning.